Hey there Vault Dwellers, Naked Vault Dweller here, and in this video we're going to focus on the Fallout player WarHeart and highlight his camp as our next camp of the week. Before we get started, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the Naked Vault Dweller YouTube channel. We'd love to have you here. Okay, so it's looking like the camp of the week is becoming a thing for us. And yes, I normally wait to the end of the video to say this, but if you're interested in having your camp highlighted as the camp of the week, leave a comment down below and we'll check into it. And just to add, I focus on camps for the PC, but it's a brave new world that we live in, so I've also discovered that there's ways to get footage from the Xbox and PlayStation thanks to the player Yeah Boy, so we're looking into that. And this week we turn the proverbial cameras to WarHeart and his camp creations and delve into his shelters and how his personality shines through. We'll start with a brief overview of his outside camp. This is where most of the people will come to look at vendors, but lurking just below the surface is a complex unlike anything I've seen so far. Starting with the shelter's utility room, WarHeart has transformed this area to fit a darker side of Fallout 76. In homage to the Mothman, WarHeart keeps the outer doors locked so wayward wanderers do not accidentally stumble upon the creeps inside. And this dark mirrored bedroom is only a preview of what we'll see as we move through the facility. Triggering the fireplace secret passage, we find what I can only rectify as a temple of the Mothman. Equipped with its own creepy organ and benches set up like church pews, this would truly be the spot where one would come to see an apparition of the beloved Mothman indeed. One of the super cool things that I thought about this room was the Mothman eyes. When I asked WarHeart how difficult it was to get that lined up correctly, he simply exclaimed, "It was very difficult," in a swanky Scottish accent, not the one I just used. Moving into the Atrium, I am absolutely dumbfounded by the enormity of the layout. When I tell WarHeart that I might not be able to get exactly what he has going on here, he whips out that Scottish accent again and tells me this.
I actually don't get offended. Everyone's got their own creative side, and if you try and replicate it and add your own flair, that's better.
Now, as you can see, there's some really cool things to point out in here inside the Atrium. This responder location is quite high on my list to reproduce because it looks a little easy, and I have most of the stuff. Next, take a look at the pub area. This is a spacious spot and truly reminds me of some of the pubs I've visited before. Pub. Thanks, WarHeart. Now I'm starting to sound like you. Next, we'll move to the Overseer's office where we'll find an enclosed glass room guarded by turrets. Inside, everything is pretty well spaced out and the decorations are contrasting to one another. I like the way this place looks, but I'm definitely not ambitious enough to try to recreate it. And finally, the lobby shelter. In here, you can just tell that this is the place that WarHeart started first. There's just a taste of the personal here that's above all the other shelters. When I asked WarHeart why he themed his shelter in this manner, he explained that this portion of the shelter is for power armor creation and repair, among other things. He envisions players that visit this shelter as customers with its own waiting area, consultation area, and finally an area where all the work is done. And WarHeart is proud of this area above anything else and worked tirelessly with me to make sure it looked exactly the way he had envisioned it. And I probably should have mentioned this before, but WarHeart has hidden Easter eggs throughout the camp. And I won't divulge all of them, but they do center around discovering the locations of Silver Shroud plushies. And when you see them online, ask for a camp tour and see how many you could find. Okay, so out of all the sections I can replicate here, I think I'm going to try my hand at replicating the Overseer's office. And not just a section of the Overseer's office either. I mean, the whole Overseer's office. I don't think I can actually do it justice by just taking a snippet out. So let's just try to do the whole thing together. So let's hop on over to my shelter and see what it's going to take. Since the Overseer's office already has a tiled floor, we don't have to lay down anything in advance. We'll need the greenhouse walls here, and by the looks of things, they are just half walls stacked on top of one another. And once we have the walls down, we'll just go ahead and place the roof. Next, we'll start placing down items to fill up the room. This is kind of a process, and getting everything down exactly to where it is kind of a hit or miss thing, but I think I do a pretty good job at doing it. And of course, some of these items I don't have in my camp, and like previous videos, I'm just going to put down a plushie in its absence. Next, we have the throne, and this throne is elevated on a floor and by far was one of the more difficult things to get lined up and set in place. And just as a tip, I had to unlock snapping and get it just right for anyone that is looking to do something like this. Now we'll just continue to put down items to fill up the room. Next, we'll put in the door, place those nifty turrets, run this power to make the turrets work, We'll put down the coffins. I know I didn't show the coffins in the video, but there's coffins lining the sides of the glass walls. Again, you're going to have to ask WarHeart while they're there. He's got a good story for you. Next, we'll finish out the entrance of the room. After all the work is done, I'm actually quite impressed with how close I get to the original creation. And I'm liking a few atomic shop items, but overall I think it's pretty spot on. And we'll let WarHeart be the judge of this, and I'll pin his comment at the top after he sees the video. And that's it, folks. Remember, if you'd like to have your camp featured as Camp of the Week, let me know in the comments down below, or come to our Discord channel where we have a dedicated camp channel where you can ask for me to take a look at it there. Until we see each other again in the waste, Vault Dwellers, take care, and thanks for watching.